meeting. And thank you all for attending, and also thank Jackie and Stu for making themselves available and putting this presentation together. I will now turn it over to them to do the presentation. Of course, it's running on my computer, so when you need the slide change, just give me a shout.
Hello, everybody. It's Stuart here. Just to give you a little bit of background with this, this is from the ISU. It's not the complete 3 hours worth. In discussion with a few of my colleagues, we felt that probably a shortened version was probably more appropriate for this type of first webinar for this. And so we're going to go over some of the key points of the calls. And so most of you by now, all of you have been using the call sheet at the ISU, the S1 codes, the C1 codes, and the E1 codes. So we've picked 4 codes that we're going to go over tonight with some extra videos from the ISU. Most of you have not seen these. And at the end, there's a bonus question for you to make the call, and then we can have some questions. I don't know, Jackie, did you want to start off first and just go over, just read some of the stuff and we'll start? Is that what you'd like to do, or do you want me to start, Jackie? What would you like to do?
Well, you start and I'll jump in once we get to the C's and that afterwards.
Okay, so Dave, if we can go through the next slide for me, please. And again, thank you to Natalie and the ISU for allowing us to do this. So I think what's really important is to understand the guidance of the TC wording, and this is directly from the TC. And this has to be really important to understand it, that all skaters are considered in the lead of another skater unless they are in the last position of the race. For the purpose of our racing rules, the skater in the lead refers to the action judged and not only the skater who is in the first position. And skaters being one lap behind and being caught up by one or a group of skaters are still considered in the last position and never in the lead. They must not interfere with the race. So this is the pretense we've done with skating for many, many years, but the TC has now decided, as it did 2 years ago, to make sure we understand it and it's written down for us. Any questions with the first slides? No. Great, Dave. Next slide for me. So generally speaking, a skater overtaking another skater responsible for his action in his passing or skating must not interfere with the other skater's race. Interfering can result in a penalty for the skater or team, and in more severe or dangerous infringements, it can be a yellow card or even a red card. Next slide, Dave. So one of the main points to remember that a click of blades is not considered a penalty when overtaking. So I want you to look at this race and we'll have a discussion. Please play, Dave.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. There we go.
Okay, is there any questions with that one before I sort of talk to you? What do you think? Is a call there or not a call? Do you want to see it again?
Please.
Yeah. So just take an eye at the Turkish gentleman. He moves from the outside across. He nicks the skates of the Chinese skater, and that loses his balance and takes out the Great Britain skater who's in second place. So he nicks the blades and then takes out the Great Britain skater. So there's the nick blade. You guys have not seen this one.
So in that situation, depending on the advancements, if the British skater was in a position of advancing through, he would be advanced without a penalty occurring.
Yeah, so we had a lot of discussion at the ISU with this, because I would say that about probably 50% of the referees felt that the Turkish skater did a funny movement from outside to in. But one of the key things from the TC reps is that the skater was ahead. He touched the blade, didn't really interfere with the Chinese skater much, and because he nicked his blade, flipped out and hit the British skater. So in this case, the TC reps and the referees finally came to the conclusion, what? No penalty, just the British skater is advanced. Now this is a funny call because you can see everything's going on at once. But again, it's a click of the blades from the Turkish skater hitting the Chinese skater that caused it. And so when you see this, a click of the blades is not a penalty. And if somebody's in contention as the British were, then it's an advancement for that skater. In this case, it's Great Britain.
One quick question here.
Yes.
What if the Chinese skater would fall with that kick of the blades?
Now there's you remember that in ISU it's 2+0.
So he would
And
not have been in an advancing position.
that's exactly.
But I mean, would there be a penalty to the Turkish if he had the Chinese skater fall?
No.
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 He was ahead, even if he touches him with his blades.
Even if he's beside him, it's still clicking blades. This is just a click of blades. Therefore, there is no penalty with this.
Thank you.
Now, there is talk that if there's an intent and the person moves from outside to in and he's parallel with him, even if it's a kick of blades, then that is still, they can't get 50-50 with the TC reps, that if there's an intent and it moves sideways, and even though they click a blade, it's an intent, but for all intents and purposes, when it's a click of blades, there is no penalty.
So still, let's say that this move goes ahead and he's, let's say, 50% less ahead than what he is at this point. He's
Right.
still ahead, but less. And that same action happens. Like he barely gets in.
Yep, but if he just clicks the blades, it's still the same thing. Now, it depends. Again, this is where it gets into these movements. If it's from outside to in causing contact, then he's a long way out. But when you look at this, he's not a long way outside. He's not like he's out by the boards making this massive movement. He's just moving in, getting ready for the pass. So this was a discussion we had at the ISU. We felt that it was a funny movement, but the TCs felt that this was not a funny movement. He was just getting in front of them, and he just happened to click his blades. Did that answer the question, Chris?
There we go. Unmute me. Yeah. No, it did.
Yeah, this is a very.
It's a very touchy. It's very touchy.
Yeah, this is a very contentious issue. So this is why we had a big discussion about it. When this happens, they felt it's still a click of blades, and therefore it's no penalty, just advancement for the British skater.
And you definitely see that if you see the action happening more from the front view and from the top view. So, and that's a lot of the time, Chris, if you remember, that's a kind of camera view that we were going to, even at juniors.
Yeah.
We could see the action happening from the side, but when we went front view, you could actually see the movement of the skaters down the straight.
That's good.
Any other questions? Is this clear for everybody?
Yep.
So click of blades, advancement, if they're in a contending position, no penalty. Okay, great. Next slide, please, Dave. So this just sort of tells you what's happening. When they're a little bit ahead, you can move from side to side, but when they're not, they're level, you can't move side to side. So lane changes.
And remember that it's a virtual line you're drawing. You're not actually drawing a line, so it's not going to be accurate, but it's as you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that when you're making the calls.
And this is the most difficult thing for we as referees is who's really ahead. And if you have to look and look and look and look and look and look and look, then they're probably not ahead.
Yeah.
So you have to be really, if you have to spend hours looking to see who's ahead, then they're not ahead. They're virtually equal. We good with that?
Is the overhead camera angle always available?
No. Go ahead. Do you want to talk about that, Jackie, or can I tell you what happens at the ISU?
Yeah, it's only at ISU, right? We would never have an overhead view.
No, and at the ISU, you don't have it in the preliminaries, and some places don't have it. that'll be camera number 5 in the middle, and most
Yeah.
of the times you don't have it. So these cases gives you a different look, but we will not have it in Canada. And for some of the ISU events, there's no overhead camera.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's why one of the big things they did stress is that it's a virtual line we're looking at. So we have to keep that in mind. And as Stu says, going back and looking and looking and looking, if you're not seeing clearly sort of immediately who's in front, then you're looking for something that really is probably not happening because it's taking you too long to decide that.
Any other questions? Jackie, do you want to take over for the next one?
Sure. Next slide.
Okay. Yeah.
So in this slide here and the video, we are looking at equal position is when a skater is passing and has succeeded in coming side by side with skater being passed. Our definition of side by side is when the skates and hips look pretty much equal on a virtual lateral lane. Note here that we do not take the time to measure it perfectly, as we were just saying when there is a video review, and therefore one skater could be slightly in front or behind, but we would still consider it equal. So as we were saying, you have to remember that virtual line. So if you have a look at this video here, you can see it's very hard there to see who is actually in front coming into that corner. You would have to go right back to the blue line in that straightaway to see where the action was starting, who was actually in front. And if you look there, you can see they're almost equal, especially the front two. So then you're looking at that lateral movement, who's causing that movement in to actually cause if there's an impede or not. Because at that line, they're equal and there's no real movement there. They're just all really skating. All three of those skaters are skating, but they're so close that they can't actually get around the corner. So Stu, was there a DQ in this one? I don't think so.
Yes, there was. Now, the reason I brought this up is because what happened with this is the one from the European Championships. So if you watch the Belgian skater who's in the yellow, and then the Russian skater who's second place side, when it goes again, just watch. So at their center line, they're pretty well equal here. The Russian skater stays pretty well straight. The Belgian skater has to come in. Therefore, the Belgian skater gets called as an S2, inside to out, causing contact.
And you
the
would
Kazakhstan skater, who was in first place at the time, is advanced, yes. So this wanted to show you that they're all equal the whole time, and the only way that the Belgian skater should have done was to get out of that and come in, but he didn't do that. He decided to go in, therefore he got a penalty.
And this is where the TC are very, very, very sensitive about that, and they're saying that if you are holding, they are expecting that Belgium skater to realize that there's no space for them and they need to stop skating and get back in the back of the pack.
Yeah.
So they have to actually stop because there is no space for him to go because he's gone inside and he's coming back outside. So that was a big issue of contention in discussions of how do you stop yourself when you're already starting to make that move to come back in behind the skater. And I think that's where a lot of us see that, but that is called as an S movement and not an E movement. A lot of people would call that an E, but it actually starts in the straightaway. So that's really important to remember.
Any questions about that? Do you want to play a few more times, or is everybody good with that call?
For me.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, do you want to go to the next one? So I've got some, so these are the three calls leading in from that last one is an S2, an E2, a C1, and a C3. So these are the four calls that most of us these are the most of the calls that we see in short track. So it's worthwhile that we thought we'd work on these rather than talking about some of the other ones we don't see as much. So the first one's going to be S2. Jackie will start. Dave, do you want to, next slide, please?
So this is in the straightaway, lane change from inside to out, causing contact. If both skaters are equal, no lateral move, creating contact can be done. The inside skater can move towards the outside freely if he is in the lead. But if they are equal and he moves towards the outside and creates contact, he may get a penalty for S2. If two skaters are still side by side towards the end of the straight, which is what you just saw, the inside skater is too much inside and is able to come back out before the corner entry without a lateral causing outside move, creating contact. His correct action would be to stand up slightly, slow down, and move back into second place. If the inside skater fails to complete the pass or fails to stand back and there's contact, then the skater is responsible for the collision and may be a penalty for S2. So we have a few videos here showing that exact movement that you've sort of looked at a while ago. Coming down the straight, seeing you're looking at skater 3 and 4, they're trying to make a movement on the inside and he is causing the contact. It's the guy from Ireland coming up through, 4th place, coming, and there's no space for him to actually go. He causes that contact.
So there's a couple of things, hints to look at, and I've got a hint page on this.
Yeah.
It's important to look at when you get to the red line. If the back skater has not caught up to that lead skater who's passing, the chances of making it to the pass in the corner is next to impossible. So in this case, you can see, we'll just say Bulgaria at the time is clearly ahead by the red line. As we go around the corner, Bulgaria is clearly ahead, and Ireland can't catch up. The only way to get in is to hit them. So that's clearly an S2.
Can we show the next slide, Dave?
Is everybody clear for that one? Any comments? Okay, here's the next one.
I've got a question. So you've got an S2, but he took himself out, right?
So this is the last one? Go back to the last one, Dave, for us. The last slide, sorry.
Oh, now you're asking for tricky stuff. I'm not sure we can go back.
Leave it to me.
I should be just try escape. There you go.
So he's doing his S2, he's taking himself out.
Yeah, but he's disrupted the pattern of that third skater. That third skater, the Bulgarian, is now in 4th because
there was a change of position. That's what I was going to. There was a change of position there.
There's a change of position.
Okay.
Right, there's a change of position. He's lost his space, and the advancements still go on through a race.
Yeah, no, I understand. We don't see the back part of it. That's why.
Yeah, that's one.
We don't see the back part of the video.
And that's the problem with video referee. The video referee is only limited to what's seen on the screen, especially if you're in the bunker. So that's why it's very important for the skaters to maintain contact with the referees on ice. So with a secondary pack like this, and then ISU, this is a secondary pack, you'd have the first assistant and the first referee looking after the first two, and then the third referee should be looking at that pack at the back to ensure that if anybody gets bumped, they'll say, well, yeah, they need to be advanced because it was 3+0 or 4+1, because I can't see what's happening as a video ref, or if anybody's a video ref, what's happening here.
And that's even important when you're refereeing a national meet and you're in the middle of the ice, that you have to have your chief referee and the first assistant watching the front pack and your second assistant watching the back pack, because this is what does happen at the back. And if you're the chief and the first assistant, you miss that action at the back. And that's still really important to take note of that action and making sure that you are capturing that when you're making your calls.
Any other questions with this one? Are we okay to go to the next video?
Thanks. That's good.
Okay, next one, please, Dave. So again, use the center line as your judge. Who's ahead at the center line? He'll keep playing. Just watch it again. We don't have an end view, unfortunately. So if you look here, Canada's ahead at the half, Canada's ahead. Therefore, the call is, what's the call? It's an S2, right? So you know that it's America.
S2, coming from outside to inside.
Yeah. So the USA got called for this as an S2 on the Canadian. Canada was advanced because it's 2 + 0. Any comments on this one? Sorry, Jackie.
One of the things you do need to watch in this is that Canada doesn't go too far out. It's his skating pattern. You do get some skaters that go really far out and then come back in. And if that's the case, you do need to look very carefully of, is it actually the inside skater or is it the outside skater that's diving back in? Because he has opened the door. The Canadian doesn't go too far out here. So you do have to be aware of that can happen in a race.
How's the video for everybody, just out of curiosity? Is it pretty good, or are some people having jittery? Mine's very good here, so.
It's a little jittery, yeah.
But it's not bad though, right?
Tolerable, yeah. And I've got fiber up here, so I don't know what the other guys got.
Mine's very good.
That's Eric. I have a question, Eric, here.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah.
Why is it not a C2 here? E2?
Because it's starting in the straightaway. It's not starting in the entry into the corner.
It's all about where it started.
The action starts in the straightaway. There, it's starting there.
Okay.
Okay, so I think this is one of the big important things that we have to remember as refs, that we need to go back to where the action is starting from. We're calling it from the starting position and not where the contact is actually happening. And I think that's been one of our errors as referees, that we all call the point of contact.
Now, as we've, it's not very good for the spectators that we call this an S2, because the spectator says, well, there's nothing happening in the straight, it's happening in the corner. And so, you know, I've chatted to Danny and Natalie about this, but the call is that it's an S2. And it's an education thing for the people in the stands and the coaches. The important thing that you get the call right, Jeff. If you call this a C2, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to get anybody. The important thing is to get the correct call. That's the main thing.
I would say that rather than the C2, the E2, it's more between the E2 and the S2. Like, I can understand the whole premise of it, but if there was a point assigned to it, or if there was a value assigned to one compared to the other, it would make almost more sense. But between the end of an S or the beginning of an E, I'm sure the others would agree. I mean, sometimes we're going, okay, is it an S2 or an E2? Does it really matter? I mean,
well, it does matter from the ISU perspective, and it matters. It matters that we're seeing the same thing. What it doesn't matter is that you're getting the call correct, Chris. As long as you're getting the call correct, you remember that the S2 starts in the straight, as Jackie has said. The E is a last-minute dive in, and we've got some examples of those. And the C is the contact from the third puck onwards, because the E is the first and second pucks. The C is for third, fourth, and fifth and sixth pucks. So in this case,
so this is written right. So the whole premise of where the action starts.
Yes.
I haven't seen the written part of it there, so I apologize for that. But there is literature on that specific topic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's why it's really important to understand the guidance from the TC about what that means. And when you start reading this, it'll make much more sense. I'll have the full edition for everybody, so that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right,
Any
thanks.
questions about this one? Where this is, we'll go back to the escape and go to the third one now, if you don't mind, Dave. There, here we go. So if you watch the American, who's in first at the red line?
The German.
Yep.
Sorry, some might not know the skin suits.
Yeah.
The yellow, the red, and the white, I think that's Germany. So you're looking at skater 4 and 5 there, and skater 4 is clearly in the lead at the red line, and the American tries to come up the inside and runs out of room for that movement. So once again, we're in the same position. It is an S2 because it starts in the straightaway. It finishes in the entry to the corner, but it starts in the straightaway.
Any questions? Clear as mud, right?
I'm hoping those three, well, I think with those 3 videos that we've actually managed to clear up what you're looking at when you're looking at starting in the straightaway.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part for you to remember, how far back you actually go back to see where the start of an action starts, and that is actually generating your mind into looking at a call.
Okay, Dave, we can go to the next one for us. Okay, so these are the tips. It starts in the straight, not the last pass movement at the corner. One of the things is, are they equal at the red line? If they're not equal at the red line, the passing skater will have a hard time to pass and will probably not be at the head at the first puck. Did either skater move inside or outside? Did the lead skater make a funny movement at the first puck? Deviate or move from their regular track? As in, Jackie said, leave the door open. If you, one of the tips is, if you draw a line from the 7th puck to the first puck, is one or both of the skaters inside that imaginary line? And it gets tricky at the ISU level, because the outside skater will push them over and causing them to make it look like they're actually too far inside, when it's actually the outside skater making them move inside causing the problems. So we got a couple more videos for you here to have a look at. And Jackie will comment on these. Go ahead, Dave, you want to play the videos for us? I think there's 2 there. Look how far the Canadian goes in.
The Canadian goes way inside and then has to come back in. Look, they're even in the blue and is coming back into that corner. So the Canadian is actually causing that whole movement.
Any
So that
questions
is an
about that one? Sorry, Jackie. Any questions about that?
So in that one, the Canadian would be disqualified for an S2, but there would be no advancement because it didn't affect any placing of that position.
Okay, this is the next one.
Good.
Oops. Oops.
Oops.
Is this one? I'll just override it. There
We can go back, Dave, because we're on the E2 at the moment. We're still back on S. There we go.
Yeah,
Do
that's the top one then.
So you can see Bulgaria took out, do you want to show that one again, Dave? Bulgaria took out Latvia as an S2. So again, look at the red line, see who's ahead. They have the right of way, and they get taken out. So don't forget, even though they get taken out at the 3rd puck, the movement starts on the straight. So again, this is an S2. But the key thing is to make sure you get the call.
Yeah.
Don't spend hours thinking, oh, is it S2, an E2, whatever. That what counts is that you get the call right.
Yeah.
That there is a
But
penalty.
you know that it's at number 2, whether it's S or you called it E. The chief referee would decide whether it's an S or an E, but you need to make the call that it's a 2, where the movement was.
Is there any questions about the S calls at all, or anything about the tips that you want to discuss? Anybody? Okay.
The,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. It's okay. It's all good.
No. Issuing penalties when there's no change in positioning. What's your opinion on that?
It really depends, Chris. If you're trying to send a message that you don't want this to happen, the ISU is going to give a penalty. If it's a final race and it doesn't make any difference in the 5th and 6th spot, a lot of times you don't give a penalty. It really is up to the discretion of the chief referee at the time.
Okay.
You say, I'll just leave it. And the other thing is, Natalie talks about is, if you've got a gold medal race and there's a penalty at the end, and it's of no consequence to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, giving it isn't going to change anything. And it actually detracts from our the sport, because people, instead of worrying about who got 1st, 2nd, and 3rd to win a gold medal, think about the penalty. So the penalty gets splattered all over the place. So you better just say, look, forget it. We're not going to do it. Let's just leave it as it is, and we'll go with that. So
okay, good. Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, E2, in the corner entry from inside to out, causing contact. So this is just, we wanted to show you the difference. For that Pacific zone, it is entering, a skater is in the lead, then he has the priority. If a skater is behind, nearing the first block, and decides to make a very last minute a pass at that movement, he is responsible for his pass and needs to make it to the front without creating contact. If the skater in the lead skates a normal track, which means that he doesn't, at the last minute, changes his lane to go from the outside, and the skater comes from behind on the inside, suddenly in that zone, and doesn't make it to the front without creating contact, then that passing skater can get a penalty for N2. So we're saying like that E2 is the last minute entry into that corner. And I think as referees, we all know that. We all go, like, I don't believe that guy's actually trying to do that pass. So it's the last minute thing. And that's what the difference is between the E2 and the S2, because it is last minute. A lot of the time that E2 even relates, sort of ends up being sometimes a yellow card. So if you can show us the first video, Dave.
Yeah, for some reason this one's not going to full size. I'll go back, sorry. I think unfortunately we have to watch this one in the slightly smaller size, so.
Yep.
I'll just run it again.
If you watch the last Canadian as he comes in, skating straight, he sees the open, and then he dives in.
He dives in and takes out the Hungarian.
Yep. So that's.
Can we try the second? Maybe the second one will go big. No.
No, I didn't set it up to play full screen. I missed that one. Then the second one's going to have the same problem.
So there was the same. If you watch that one again, you'll see it's between skater 2 and 3. Coming into the straightaway, 2 is in the lead, opens up the gap, and 3 tries to take that gap and moves in and takes out 2. But 2 really hasn't done anything to deserve that. And you can actually see 3's movement coming from the outside in to actually make the pass to try and go through.
Yeah, the polar skater. The polar skater comes from outside to in, and a quick last minute dives in and takes out the Bulgarian. Or the Italian, my fault.
Italian, yeah. So that is what we call an E2. It's a very sudden movement, and it's right at the end, because you can see the Polish skater was way back and has suddenly tried to make the movement. It hasn't started way back in the straightaway. Are there any questions on that E2, between the E2 and the S2?
Okay, Dave, we can go to the next slide. So again, it's the same tips. There's no difference in the tips. Who's the leader at the red line? If they're not equal to the line, the passing skater will have a hard time to make the pass. Did the lead skater make a funny movement at the first puck? Did any skater move inside the imaginary dotted line? But the key is between an S2 and E2, it's a last minute pass into the corner entry at the first puck. And then we have another video for this as well. Any questions so far?
I have one about the line. If you
Okay.
can go back.
Okay. We'll just, we'll watch this and we'll go back.
Okay, so if you watch this one, it's the Russian skater at the back. He's come back in and hits the Korean skater as he's trying to come back in, and it's last minute. The Korean skater is in the lead, and you can see clearly there from the virtual line, and he does that last minute pass, and you can actually see, because you can see all the blocks already when that starts happening. So it's at that first puck, he comes back in and he creates that.
Okay, so there was a question about the line. Okay, go ahead. Who was that? Was that Sylvain?
No, that was Eric.
Okay, Eric, sorry, go ahead.
Same accent, but different guy.
Okay.
The blue and red, blue and red, blue and red, those are the pucks?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, so that's the near imaginary line from one corner to the next corner.
That's correct. From the seventh puck to the first puck is this imaginary dotted line that you use to have a look. So if you're one of the assistants in each end, it really behooves you to change your track. Michel Dumont and Yvon, you know, we talk about this a lot. So what you want to do is that to see these calls, you need to come out more, rather than just skating into the end piece, you need to come right out to the end by this pucks. So you can see the skaters going down the track to make that corner entry. So you have to make a, yeah, behind the skaters. A lot of people like to stay in the middle. You've got to move out more. Michelle, myself, Jackie, Yvon, Sylvain, we're moving out to catch those skaters that you can see if they're moving down the virtual line. You can't see at the ends whether they've going to be ahead or not, because you just can't see it. That's the chief referee's job of the video. But you can see whether there's a lot of movement from outside to in, and that's that job of you as the first assistant and assistants to pick up.
Perfect.
Is that clear for everybody? Okay. So this is a tricky one. It's a C1. It's in the corner, lane change from outside to in, causing contact. And it doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it has significant consequences at the finish line, because you can see here that Shinky Connect is going, even though he's parallel or the same level as the Korean skater, as he comes out of that seventh puck, makes a outside to inside movement and cuts off the Korean, whoever it is. And that's one of the key movements that they're doing now at the finish. And we miss it a lot as referees unless it's on video because it's so quick. It's just a little cut in. So I just want to go over this one as well. If two or more skaters are entering the corner together and are considered equal, they all have to keep their lane until the end of the corner or until a place opens up big enough to allow lateral movements without creating contacts. The skater or skaters on the outside need to stay on the outside. Unfortunately, I don't have a really good video of this one. We had one at the International, and just the way the videos are set up, I can't find it. We all called it, but it did happen. And if we move to the next slide, there's a video for you showing a different type of C1 corner. So just before you play that, Dave, so the tips are, it's difficult to see from the inside referee position, and that's the inside referee where that position is going to happen. The opposite corner referee and the chief referee will have a good view of this. And again, it's very important to have to be in the correct on-ice position when the skaters exit the corners. Now, Michel Dumont has talked about this a lot. It's very important. It usually happens on the last corner before the finish or with one lap to go. And it may happen at the entrance corner. So this is an entrance corner C1 I'd like you to have a look at. Jackie can comment on it. Excuse me.
So that's a very good example there of the Korean coming round from the outside, and he's also got his arm in the path of the Canadian skater. So we spoke about that as well at ISU level, of that arm coming across. He's on the outside. That arm shouldn't be coming right across in front of another skater, because you're actually taking that other skating position out. So this is another good example of a C call coming through and out, and he throws his arm there and he's taking the Canadian out of position there. And then they all hold their position after that. If you have a look, it starts there. They're skating. He's on the outside. He's holding his position, and then he moves his arm right across in front. And we haven't been looking for that as well as we should be looking for that.
Any comments on that? Any questions?
You can see it there very clearly where his arm's going right across. The Canadian has nowhere else to go but to go into the skater.
So people could say, well, this is an arm block. Well, the real movement is it's outside to in causing contact. This is a C1. Is that pretty clear for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next one, Dave. Jackie, you want to go ahead?
Yep, sure. So this is the corner, the arm block. The second common move is when skaters make a pass on the outside or skating in the corner as equals, and from the outside will put their hand on the ice to block or slow down the inside skater. So if you look at video number 1, Dave, can we... So you can see the arm block there coming right across. It's the French guy in third place is trying to put his arm right across to block the way of the Italian skater. The Italian skater has nowhere to go and gets taken out there by that arm block. So we spoke a lot about that, saying that there's still that whole skater position there, and then they throw in their arm, trying to take a whole spot. The idea of the arm going down is when you're on the pucks. The arm should be on the inside of the pucks, not on the outside of the pucks.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that Jackie alliterated to, is that when you look at this, people are going to say, well, the French skaters ahead, they have the right to put their arm down. But if we could freeze that for a moment, Dave, when they get to that corner.
Can you freeze it? There.
Okay. If you go back a little bit, just drag the bar and you should be able to just pull it back a little bit for us. Okay. So if you look here, look how far out France is from the pucks themselves. And if you look at this, you'll notice that the hand is actually put down outside the pucks. And this is something that they're doing more and more as a technique to get a call. So rather than the France skater being close inside to the pucks, he's put his hands down outside, expecting that the Italian's going to get called for impeding running through as an S2, when in fact the French skater has put his arm down to block, not putting his hand down for pivoting. So if we can just watch it again for us.
There we go.
George, good, David?
Yeah,
Just escape, Dave. If you just escape, it'll come out for you. Just hit escape. There you go.
there we go.
So just watch it again. Again, French skater's outside. He's in first place, but he puts his hand down and therefore gets called for the arm lock because he's so far out. Okay. We'll move to the next one.
And I think that's where the arm block has come up from, looking at that discussion of what we had was how the hand is used for pivoting. And when you're that far out, you're not really pivoting if you're putting your arm down on the inside of the track, on the outside of the track.
We've gone back to the same one again, Dave.
Yeah,
you must be using an Apple. It's that mouse. I have the same problem with mine.
It's not an Apple. I'm sorry.
Oh, it isn't. Oh, sorry.
It's my work computer.
Oh. So if you watch the Bulgarian,
it just wants to go.
Yeah, if you watch the Bulgarian, the hand goes down to the thigh right there, and that slows it down. This is what we mostly see. Go ahead, Jackie. You can talk about it.
He puts her hand right across the Dutch goal.
Yeah. So if you see the inside skater slow down for no reason, we'll go to the next slide.
Okay. There we go.
So if you see the inside skater slow down, look for the arm from the outside skater when passing. Again, this is all to do with positioning for the referee to be able to see it. They usually have to reach in front of the inside skater from behind. So if you see somebody's from behind and then they slow down inside, suspect that there's an arm going in there. And because of that, they usually hit the lower leg and the leg gets delayed coming forward. So if we watch this one and we'll go back to watch the Dutch skater again, you'll see that again. So if you want to just play this one, Dave, if you wouldn't mind. That one is a Kazakhstan with an arm from the outside. And we'll just watch this one again. And there's the arm. If we could go back to the other slide, Dave. Sorry, I'm slide 14.
That one's a little hard to see because it's small.
And the top one. And if you watch here, you'll see that the Dutch skater's leg can't move forward, and that slows her down. And that's typical for an arm block, especially at the non-ISU level when you're at the juniors and stuff like that. That arm block comes across like that, and that's what you see.
Yeah, because this year, I think, Jackie, we got, what, 3 or 4 of these, right?
Yeah, we got a few of those. And you could actually, and exactly where you see in here, you can see a total lose of position with that arm block.
But that the leg gets delayed. That's the key to see. The leg gets delayed, and then she falls back. That's typical for an arm block. Any questions with the arm block? So again, you see the yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
This is Brent. It seems easier to see the reach through than when everybody has their arm out and one skater is off the blocks. Like, I think I can easily see the one where the Dutch skater is impeded by the arm because it's a reach through. But if they're going around the corner and everybody has their arm off and just one's off the blocks, is that the key? Is that the one is off the blocks that has their arm out?
Yeah, it's you know, absolutely correct, Brent. But again, these are quick situations. This isn't going to happen at provincial level. You know, most of the kids at that level are going to be a leg block, so to speak. These are trying tactics. They know what the tactics are. They're trying stuff. So you just have to look how far they're out. If you see that they're out by the pads and all of a sudden they start putting their arm down at the second puck, the chances of them being inside the puck when they put their arm down is going to be pretty slim.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to miss it. Again, sometimes this is only picked up on video. It's just we're trying to bring it forward so everybody sort of has an idea what to look for. So
I think what made us look at them at juniors, right, Chris, was because we saw that movement happening and what caused that movement. Because there was no, from looking at the inside of the ice as referees, there was nothing that stood out to us that why did that skater fall back? So we knew something had happened from the outside. What was it that caused that from the outside? So that's where we went back to the video to have a look, to actually make that call very clear.
And sometimes also we thought it would have been like an S2, like or a C2, and all that time. But and because of it's so subtle that the video showed us the opposite. Showed us the arm coming in from the outside instead.
Yeah.
And that's where video comes in play.
Yeah.
I think Danny, we can't hear Danny. Danny sent me an email and we can't hear Mr. LeMay. I don't know if he's got a question. Did you want to post a question, Danny? No.
I don't even see Danny on the call.
Oh, it says you guys can't hear me. He sent me an email, so I just wondered. You guys can't hear me, it says. He says, but the explanations are clear. And he says, good job.
Danny, try talking now.
Danny has no questions. Okay. All right, thanks, Danny. Sorry about that.
Can we go to the next slide, Dave?
Oh, he's on the line. So good to have you here, Mr. LeMay.
No.
Go ahead, Jackie, if we got the...
Okay, so we have a bonus after we've had our discussions here. So we've taken you through the ones that we thought are the ones that we are calling the most, which is the S2, E2, the C's. So we wanted you to just have that better understanding. So we've got a bonus question for you. We want you to have a look at the video. We'll get Dave to play it a few times and for you to come up with what the call was. And just to give you an idea.
Yvonne can't say anything. Yvonne's not going to be able to tell you the call, and myself and Jackie will make the call. Okay, we'll just pause that for a second. Anybody want to make a call on that so far?
I'll say 4 on 5 is 2.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Come on, we're not going to judge anybody. It's a discussion here, right? We do this at the ISU. We have a discussion during the calls. We're not here to make any judgments on anybody. So we have
I
a.
don't know.
We'll watch it again. Go
It's
ahead.
just too choppy to see. It's not coming through real clear with me. So
Okay, that's okay.
Until
That's
mine
okay.
plays a couple times, I can't see anything.
Okay,
Wait,
let's play. Let's play
That
it a
was
couple.
an option. I mean, I could have used that option.
That's okay. It's all good. This is good conversation, so there's no problems. And you can change your call again if you want to. So if after you watch it a few times, you've decided to change your call, I don't have a problem with that. Mine's frozen. Is everybody else's frozen?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
frozen.
mine just froze.
yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Watch it again?
There's no other angle. Huh?
No.
And think of advancements as well in your situation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's pause it for a second. So what's the general consensus so far? Can we pause that, Dave?
Maybe.
So what's the general consensus? First off, is there a penalty or is there not a penalty?
I would say there is a penalty. I have a hard time saying it's not 5-on-4 without seeing the straightaway angle because it looks like he comes in, but hard to tell if he's going straight along the edge of the circle or not for me.
Okay, so let's just play the devil's advocate here. 5 is ahead, so he can move a little bit sideways, so 5 is okay. The question becomes is, did 4 cause a penalty or not? Okay, so we'll give that. So let's play it again.
And just watch your red line for who's in front.
Oh, GB's ahead, GB's ahead, GB's ahead, right? So we're good. GB's ahead. Okay, here we go.
GB's still
GB's ahead, GB's ahead, GB's ahead, and then we get that. So you don't have the luxury of having an end on, so you have to make the call. So let's pause it again, Dave. So now looking at that, and then we'll put you out of your misery. So what's the call if there is a call, and then what do you think it is?
What I see is 4 and 5 as 2 advanced 5. From what I see.
Okay. Okay, so let's watch it again, and then we'll do running commentary. Jackie can do it, or I can do it, or Yvonne can do it. It doesn't matter.
Yvonne, you do it. You were the chief there.
That's not fair. He hasn't seen this till now. It's not fair.
And you have the answer in your pocket?
Oui, monsieur. So this is what the ISU are talking about. So the gentleman in red, Sam Green, is going to make a pass, and instead of completing the pass and taking out the British skater, he decides to back off and go inside to shorten the track. So instead of taking out 5 and the Dutch person, everybody, he comes inside and shortens the track to stop killing somebody, so to speak. So, with him shortening the track, did he gain an advantage?
Yeah.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. So the call for this is, as per the TC and ICU, there is no call. He did the right thing by backing off, by taking somebody out. He did not gain an advantage. If he'd have come through the skate from the pucks from 1 to 7 and got in the lead, that's completely different. Now he's going to be called off track. But in this case, he stopped hitting the British and the Dutch skater to kill them. Therefore, we advance skater number 5 because it interfered with him. And we do not call the red skater number 4 because he didn't gain an advantage. Now, the other thing that I want you to look at, though, we advanced the British skater. The skater number 4 did not get a penalty, but where's the Dutch skater? And this is the limitations of video. I want you to watch the Dutch skater. What position is the Dutch skater in? And does he get interfered with by that number 4 skater when he comes off track? This is typical for video. They focus in on the first 3 skaters sometimes. You don't see anything else. So, what position was the Dutch person in when he was interfered with by the skater in red? The video can't show it. And this is why it's really important that the on-ice referees see what's happening and follow the play, either the back or the front. Because if the Dutch skater was in second place at that point when he was interfered with, then he should have been advanced. And unfortunately, the video doesn't show it because it can't see it.
So you didn't have other cameras here? Like,
we had a 13, no.
Oh, wow.
They failed, YouTube failed, just one of those days.
At juniors, that straight camera saved us at least, Jackie, at least 10 times.
Chris, if we had it, I'd be showing you. This, we did not have it. It failed a lot.
Oh.
So this is the kind of stuff that he tried to stop somebody. It's not enough. It's not enough. He's not gaining advantage. This is a no call. Just make sure you advance people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we
But
didn't.
if you look at,
yeah, go ahead, Yvonne. Sorry, my apologies.
yeah, if you look at the video, when you see the Dutch, he's completely outside, but in that time, he was at least third or second.
Yes, but the video doesn't see if he was actually in second. He could have been in third, but the video doesn't show it.
And that even on the ice, we couldn't make it for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But the decision of the number 4, I think it was the best decision of the weekend.
Yes.
So don't try to do it.
Yeah. So is that clear for everybody? This is the kind of stuff we don't want to call. This kid tried to save the other skaters. You don't call him an off track. Don't call him a penalty. Just advance the appropriate skaters. And that skater can continue to skate in the race and still has a chance to get back in.
So I understand what you're saying here. My question here would be, when you're on the ice and seeing this in action, your feel for the race regarding skater number 4 would be much more evident than what we're seeing on the screen right now, right?
Well, actually, we all called it without watching the video.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of see him. You can see him putting on the brakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he came inside, and you didn't see anybody get taken out. So for us, right away, all of us, it was a clear cut. All of us, correct, Yvonne?
Yeah, he came inside on his own. Nobody pushed him. He takes the decision to come inside because for a matter of safety.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good. Thanks.
And if he hadn't, that would have been a real E2.
Yeah.
And a yellow card, maybe.
Probably a yellow card, probably an S2 because it's
I was going to say, Yvonne, come on, a yellow card, Yvonne, right?
4 yellow cards that means I think it's too many.
Yeah. So is that clear for everybody in that? Any questions about that or comments? We want to make sure it's clear. If you're not clear, but just raise your hand. Nobody's going to think bad of anybody. We want to make sure that we do the best for our skaters and our competitions in each province that we have. We're here to help, right? We're all on the same team. So.
There's one question here.
Yeah, please.
What if it were a final?
It's still the same problem. Now, there's been talk that the ISU's got, let's say the British skaters in the first place and gets done like that. Nobody's falling. You could blow it down and start it again. Now, that becomes very controversial. If it's a provincial championship, you could say, well, the first skater got taken out and we should start the race over again. If it's a World Cup and it's a gold medal, I don't know the answer for you, and I don't know.
You don't want to be there.
People would say, "Oh, let's start over again." Well, I think you just let it go, and that's just the way skating is.
Because I can't judge because all I get is jumping images. But,
yeah, I apologize.
I understand what you mean.
We will send this to everybody. You'll have access to it, as David said, and then you can.
Yeah, I need
again.
to see it live. Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you still have questions, please feel free to email Dave, and he can forward it on, or you can send it to the group, or you can post it into the Facebook officials one we have, and we can discuss it. Again, we're not here to judge anybody. We're here to assist and make sure we all get the correct calls.
Yep.
That's Eric here. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What did number 4 finish?
Last.
Okay. If you would have finished in, I see the advancement is 2 + 3 there. If you would have finished in the advancement ranking, you would have been advanced? Or maintain the position? Okay. Even if you cut the track for safety reasons.
Yeah, so he cut the track for safety reasons, and he at that point when he cut the track, he was in last place. So he didn't gain an advantage at that point. After that, if he wants to work like a dog and try and catch up at a 1500 and makes it to the front, good for him.
Okay.
Chance of it
Really,
happening is pretty slim, but
yeah, and he really just sort of stopped skating. He knew what he had done was sort of like cost him the race. He sort of knew that as he'd done the movement. So he just sort of skated the race out, but didn't even really try anymore.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, Stu, it's Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce.
Just to, as you've got the video frozen here, it's kind of perfect for the Dutch skaters. So in theory, they're in line. So if it continued around the corner and number 4 had come out just in front of 1, at that point we would have viewed it as the same as a Great Britain skater, that we would have advanced him, although no infraction.
Yes, that's correct. If he was interfered with, but unfortunately, at the point he interfered with, it was almost. We actually had the Dutch coach come over, and he was saying, "What about he should have been advanced?" And I say, "Okay, watch the video now." And he goes, "Oh," I said, "Can you tell?" No, I said, "That's." I said, "Was he in second? Probably, but I can't supposition to say yeah he was because I can't see it." And I told him, I said, "This is the issue we have with video. You're limited to what the camera's going to show you. If you don't have a camera on it, you're not going to see it." And that's, like I said, Bruce, that's why it's important for your assistants to be able to follow the back group. If somebody gets interfered, there should be one person on the ice to say, "I will follow that last person if they get bumped to ensure that I see if there's an interference going on, or if somebody's being interfered with, it should be advanced." Okay. So, any other questions? Okay, great. I'll turn it over to Dave back again, and that closes it up. Dave, thank you very much for running our video and showing this stuff for us. Thank you.
You are welcome. I'd like to just say thank you very much to Jackie and Stu for preparing this and presenting for us this evening. It's great to have people coming back from ISU clinics and sharing this information, and I hope that we will be able to do this some more. And just to let you know, I will